Hello and welcome to Market Briefing. I'm Martin Bakkerdax, European business editor here at the IB Times UK. Busy morning indeed around Europe and indeed around the world. We're looking at mixed activity for equity markets across the region. FTSE getting a bit of a boost from the banks. I'll get into that in a second, but we're looking at mixed activity around the broader region, largely because investors are growing increasingly concerned with developments in North Korea. The third atomic test was a success from the new North Korean regime, and that is putting a lot of concern into investors' minds about the geopolitical risk that had been dormant in that region for several months. It's been widely condemned by governments around the region and indeed by NATO, and you can imagine there will be reprisals with respect to potential sanctions or indeed a greater movement to bring North Korea back in line. But right now that geopolitical risk is trimming some of the equity performance here in Europe. I talked about the banks in the FTSE, of course. Barclays released its full-year earnings earlier this morning, and the top line was very solid indeed. Pre-tax profits coming in a little bit higher than 7 billion sterling. That's a 26% increase on last year. A lot of charges the bank had to take, though, particularly with respect to alleged mis-selling of not only payment protection insurance, but also interest rate hedging products for small and medium-sized businesses here in the UK. So that trimmed the bottom line down to about 246 million sterling, but the numbers underneath were enough for investors to lift the stock past 4% and very close to a 52-week high. Alongside of that, of course, the bank is announcing an enormous restructuring plan that's going to cost around 3,700 jobs and about 1.7 billion sterling. The bank effectively wants to trim down its balance sheet and trim down the size of its head count over the next 2 or 3 years in order to get returns on equity that will be higher than the cost of equity. It's a very grand and ambitious plan from new CEO Anthony Jenkins, and investors at the moment seem to like it. Underneath that, we had some macroeconomic news here in the United Kingdom, where inflation for the month of January held firm at 2.7%. It's held at that level for 4 consecutive months now. It's well above the bank's official target of around 2%, but what's encouraging maybe underneath is the fact there was a 0.5% decline on the month of January from the month of December, so that may filter through in subsequent months to bring that rate closer to the bank's preferred target. Follow all those stories and a lot more. We'll have some more news on the Barclays restructuring a little bit later this afternoon. Leanna Brinden will blog that, so do visit us on the economy page, and we'll see you tomorrow.